the line to really understand whether you're good at what you do or whether you're getting better. So I raised a personal appeal for somebody I know who is based out of Trichy. She's a woman agripreneur, and she wanted some money to help her with some equipment that she wanted. And I said, I know this person. I will walk 63 kilometers in a day, and for every kilometer, I want people to contribute money for this. I am doing the walking, but you do the funding. So that's what I did, and I raised over a lakh just with that one appeal and constant updates to my supporters. I raised that. So obviously, family contributed, friends of friends, people I did not know looked at my appeal and contributed. So I managed to raise over a lakh, and that really gave me the confidence that maybe I'm onto something. Maybe whatever I'm doing is right, and it sort of confirmed my belief that this is what I want to do moving forward. I want to be able to get better at my craft. I want to help more and more nonprofits. And eventually, what I also realized is that I'm only one person with the same 24 hours that everybody has, and I can only do so much. What if I help others learn this skill? So towards that, this is my mission to be redundant. I don't want to be doing this. I no longer, I mean, after a point, I don't want to do grant proposal writing because everybody else will be doing that and they will be doing it much better than I could probably. So I want to be redundant. That's my mission. My earlier mission was to, maybe raise, like sort of train 100 other grant writers, but that no longer is the mission. I should be redundant. That's the mission. And towards that, I have created a foundational grant writing course, which is online. It's called Grant Writing Essentials. Absolutely basic for somebody who doesn't know what grant writing is, wants to get a feel of what it is and what goes into grant writing. It is for them. And I'm also publish a weekly newsletter called Right to Win, which comes out on Wednesdays. And here I share whatever I have practiced, I have learned from other people as well, whatever references I know of, all of that I share in this. Perhaps some of it might be helpful to you. If you wish to, you can subscribe. The link I will share at the end. So that this is all that I've been doing, and so far this has been my story, and this is how I've got here. So when I stand before you today and say that I can talk about grant proposal writing, this is the background with which I come. I don't have a degree in grant writing or social work or anything like that. I don't have no formal qualification, certification, nothing of that sort. But as I said, a practitioner, and I've learned the ropes on my own. I watched videos, I watched, read books and stuff. But what I realized also was that the sensibilities that and the needs and the causes and the issues that we have in our country are far different than what they are in the global north or in Europe or America, where grant writing is a very, very predominant, much in demand skill. So I thought, if I have folks right here who can use my services, why should I be going out and why should I pander to anybody else's sensibility? So I thought, let me just do what works for our country, our folks here, and that's where I am at right now. So before we go into the session, some like basic house rules, absolute basic ones.
Yeah,
This is a
sorry,
1 hour workshop, and we
Nalanda.
have, yes,
We're not
50.
able to see you. Your video is blurred.
Oh, it is blurred. Hang on. I can't see myself either. Is it gone dark or has it gone?
Now, just blur. I
Blur.
mean, we can hear you perfectly well, so you can continue. But
Okay, let's try this. Better?
no, it's just that the background blur has gone full blur. Maybe remove the background blur.
Okay, I'm just hoping it works. So I'll just, because this is too much light in my eyes, I'll just,
Yeah, yeah. I don't think it's the light. It's
okay.
yeah. It must be from Zoom. No problem.
Okay,
I think everyone can hear you fine, so you
okay,
can
all
continue.
right.
Yeah.
No worries, I'll continue. So, house rules, as I said, is a 1 hour workshop, interactive. We have some fun things planned for you later in this session, and then I've kept sufficient time for Q and A. Just about 100 slides to go through, and then we'll have time for Q and A. Even though I can't see you, I think a lot of you smirk 100 slides. What is she talking about? But no, there's about just 16 content slides that I will go through, talking and whatever. So save your questions for the end. But what I would also request, like Vedashri said earlier, is that if you think of a question, type it in the chat. Even though I may not be able to get to it right away, but don't forget it. Type it in the chat. Keep it there so that when we come to the Q and A, I'll be able to address it. And the next bit is, if you're here, if you've chosen to be here instead of waiting for the recording, be here entirely, because there's some interactivities that I would want you to participate. And another thing is that, there's some things that we could learn from you as well. We are not here only to hear me speak, right? So we could learn from you. So be here when there's a chance. Please speak up. Ask all questions. As I said, type them in the chat. Write at least one actionable for yourself at the end of this session. I would love it if you can share it as well. Mute your phone, laptop if you can. And finally, be curious. Ask all sorts of questions. They may or may not be related to this. If there's something that anybody can share about anything else in the sector, feel free. I mean, this session is all open in that sense. All right. So okay, so big quick game to sort of segue into the session. There's some words that we use very often in all our proposals, the language that we put out, any of our media, any communication that we send out. I just want to understand how many of these buzzwords have you survived. Okay, if you have used all five, I need you to say bingo in the chat. And if you have used lesser than that, probably you haven't hit a bingo. So bingo is the game that they play for those numbers and words, but we are going to play it in a different way here. So let me bring up the first word. I know I am also guilty of this, so I might as well hit the bingo anytime. Holistic, empower, favorite word, everybody's favorite word. Underserved. I really don't know what that means. I hate this word. I don't use it, but often I read it often. Resilient, another word I'm not a fan of. Synergy. Okay, how many of you hit a bingo? Let's see in the chat. Let me switch to the chat mode and see bingos. Yeah, I can see. Oh, lots of bingos. Yeah, let me also type. In the days I was unaware, I also used them. But over the years, I've wizened up. So obviously, not under so bingo for the other four. All right. Okay. All right. Cool. But what I'm trying to do is, we'll see how we can, if not replace them entirely, but use them contextually. These words, they're not bad words in that sense. It's that we use them everywhere. It is not required. You have to use them contextually at the appropriate places. So just let's go into it and see how we can, how we can do that. Okay, so in today's session, I think the agenda was published anyway, but I'll just go through it anyway for you. This is what we are going to cover in today's session. Grant writing to me is like, the 10% is the writing and 90% is like, chasing chickens basically, hoping that, they may come home to roost one day and you will land something. So grant writing, really the writing part of it is the smallest part of the thing, of the entire activity, and the rest of it is the larger one. That is something that people don't talk about so much, and that is what I'm sort of going to cover today. How to gather inputs and coordinate with all those folks that you need those inputs from, how to tailor the proposal so that the funders see you as the perfect fit, not the other way around. I mean, you don't have to make sure that they see you as the perfect fit. You're writing honest, respectful stories about the people that your cause is serving, or avoiding last minute madness, tech disaster. So that is what we will be covering. And at the end of the session, I think with the recording or in the email later, this is what you will get. What I've created is funder customizable database templates. It can might as well be in an Excel sheet, but this is what I've created in a Word document that you can use. It has prompting questions, prompting topic lines that you can use. There's a proposal submission planning calendar, for working backwards from the deadline, that you can also toggle around, edit, and make it work for you. There's a proposal input template that you can work for teams. You may or may not actually send this template to teams. So what you can probably do is the questions in there will help you prompt for the answers that you need to put into the proposal. And then there's a little bonus that I've created from all of these documents, like a collective thing that will be revealed when you actually get it. So I will leave it there for now. And so we are not going to cover objectives and goals and whatever else there is in the basic part. This is what we're going to talk about today, and in that also we're going to touch upon various aspects of grant writing, and of course questions if you have those. it'll prompt me to touch upon other things as well. So I'll be happy to. So let's go to the next bit. Okay. So when something, let's look at a scenario where a proposal, there's a request for proposal. Somebody's put out a call and it lands in your inbox, or somebody calls you and tells you that so and so organization has announced that they are looking to fund organizations working in a certain cause, and then it's all like suddenly every hand is on deck. There's a proposal jana hai, ye karna hai, wo karna hai. Everybody is like sort of running helter skelter to put together those things, because obviously the deadlines are not that great. Sometimes they are, you get the chance, sometimes you don't. So it is, everybody is running around. So what I want to say is that don't treat proposals like it has landed in an emergency room. Leave everything and make sure that the patient survive. That is not how you do it. I also teach wilderness first aid or wilderness medicine, and the first thing that everybody, we are supposed to do in that situation is that if you see somebody unconscious, don't suddenly rush in and start giving CPR. That's what not what you do. You first have to assess the situation, where they are at, what they are doing. Unconscious, when did they fall unconscious? Was there a prior episode? Was there something that caused them to fall unconscious? All of that has to be examined before you suddenly rush in and start treating somebody. So proposal writing is not an emergency room situation. There is a method to the madness, and there is a progression that follows, often with overlaps. I'm not saying that there aren't any overlaps, there will be overlaps, but it definitely is a linear progression path that you can take towards the submission. Let's look at what it is. So discovery bit is where you find out whether you are a good fit for the funder, the cause that they are supporting, the geography that they support, or even the kind of capacity that they have, the fund size that they have. Is it something that you're looking for? This is very very important, because if you are not going to spend time making sure that you and them are a good fit with each other, you're going to unnecessarily write the proposal, send it out only to hear back that you don't fit in our scheme of things. We have made clear that only 1 2 3 4 5 criteria is something that we support. You don't fit in any of these. You'd rather spend time doing that discovery, right? That is why that the funder template that I have shared earlier, that's the takeaway that you'll have. Put everything down, and once you've put everything down and seen it, not every email or RFP that lands on your desk is for you. Remember that. It might be very tempting to sort of spray and pray that it will hit the mark somewhere. Send 50 proposals and hope that 5 will hit the mark. That is not the, you are already low on resources, low on time. You'd rather focus on the funders that are a good match with you than somebody who's not. So discovery is that. Then the input gathering, because if you are a, so if in ABBF I was the only proposal writer, I knew everything I wanted to put in the proposal. There was nobody else I had to go to except for the finance part of it, and we just sat across the table and drafted the budget and put it in. But you, all of you might be working on more complex projects, and you will need inputs from your your leadership, your M&E team, the program folks, the legal folks, the finance folks. If you're going to get information from all of them, you'd rather let them know that this is when you need the information, and start putting that together, start putting that form together, your input criteria together. And that's the gathering part. In that time, you really don't have to sit twiddling your thumbs. This is where the overlap comes in. Till you're getting the inputs, you can quickly place the placeholders in the proposal document, and start putting together at least the framework of how you're going to draft it, what is the story you're going to tell, what is the highlight that you're going to put across. All of that can be something that you start drafting basically. So your input gathering and drafting can be a little of an overlap. Once you're done drafting, all inputs are here, you have your first draft out, send it across for review, make sure that people who have given you inputs have a look at it again, and it's put across in a way that they it means what they have told you it means, and not something else entirely. Because messages can get lost in translation. That's not what we want. Do all those sanity checks, narrative matches the budget and all of that. And having ugly first drafts, it all right. You don't have to have a beautiful document in your first draft. Let it be content only. Let there be still placeholders. Let media be only placeholders and just blank boxes. That's okay. But as long as you have your framework and the basic content ready, your draft, the first draft is ready. Because believe me, there's only the first draft. There are going to be several drafts later, because everybody will think of something to add to or edit to, or they'll think, oh no, this sounds wrong, take it out, put in something else entirely. That's going to happen. So that's what the review process is all. There'll be several drafting rounds, there'll be several review rounds, but make sure you plan your calendar in a way where it gives you time for submission, because there have been, I mean, I'm sure tons of you've experienced this. At the end of it, you're submitting everything in an online form, perhaps that the vendor has requested, and the portal crashes. You send an email, it says, oh, we don't accept heavy media files, you have to pare them down. And you know that at the last moment, and you're suddenly scrambling to make sure the size matches, and your photos are like compressed, your videos are cut short so that you can upload it. All of that happens. So give yourself sufficient time before submission to make sure that your your thing is through. You don't want to put all that effort only for the last moment crashes to sort of give you like a backlash about all the effort that you've put in so far. So create that grand brief, get the inputs, put the draft together, get it into several rounds of review, and give yourself sufficient time for submission. And we'll see the calendar when we come to it. We'll see it in the. So, quick poll here. If you can load the poll, Vedashri. This is the question I want to ask and I want to find out from you is which stage of the workflow that we just discussed tortures you the most? It might be a task, it might be a part of the overall activity that you need to do, it might be a small, like a work item, but which is the most torturous? Which of it you hate the most? You wish somebody else had to do it and not you? Let me see if I can see the poll. Are there? Do I get to see? How do I see the
Yes. Are you
responses?
able to see the poll?
Yeah, I can see the poll, but I don't see the responses. Or maybe if I put in a response, it might. Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah,
Are you
that's
able to
what
see?
it told me. Okay, chasing input stops the list. Writing drafts come next. Reviewing drafts, easy. Portal submission, not so difficult again. Great. So, yeah, more people voting, I think.
We have 70% votes so far.
Okay.
You more voted.
First thing that comes to mind, put it in. That's most probably the most worrisome part for in the proposal writing process for you. Am I still blurred, by the way, till people fill the. Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. I will perpetually be blurred in the history of this. If everybody who sees the recording, they will not see me.
Perhaps once the screen share goes down.
Goes away, maybe. All right. So I think, yeah, about 80% of you have polled, and again, chasing input stops the list. Writing first drafts, viewing drafts. We'll get to those bits here. Oh, chasing inputs, writing first drafts are now like head to head. Super. Okay, but reviewing the draft and portal submission seems to be the least of everybody's issues. Writing the draft and chasing inputs is tops it. All right. I think we've got a feel of what people. You can close the poll if you need. Poll results not visible. No, they're only visible to me. No, just kidding. But I'm relaying the information. So chasing inputs for Appam, who's asked, I think chasing inputs is at 46%, writing first draft 42%, reviewing draft 7, and portal submission 4%. So that's where people are at. Okay, back to the slide. Okay, have we closed the poll? Can I continue?
Yes, yes. Please
All
continue.
right. Okay, so these were the questions we had and the options we asked you. And chasing inputs, yes, which is why that template, we'll talk about it a little bit. And writing the first draft, yes. So for writing the first draft, what I think is also important is finding, taking in what your funder is like. And we'll talk about how to find that fit, how to do the funder recon in a little bit, but let's tackle the chasing the inputs bit first. So, what takes a application closer to success? Putting together a proposal team. Let's say you need inputs from your finance, your leadership, sometimes even M&E, but asking somebody to ये इस सवाल के लिए कंटेंट भेज देना गेट्स यू प्रॉबली, अरे वो एक लास्ट पिछले साल वो एक स्ट्रेटेजी डेक बनाया था ना, वो भेज दो. That is typically the answer that you get. And if strategy decks help you win proposals, then that is all you really needed to submit to funders, and you would have won a ton of funding. It would have come your way. But that doesn't happen. Nor does sending last year's strategy decks or 4 PDFs that somebody has put together help. It really doesn't help. When you need inputs from the team, what helps really is asking them very, very specific questions, because they are doing their work and they are also on time sensitive tasks and jobs, whatever it is. They have their roles, their responsibilities. And you may not like it, but they may not be able to submit the kind of answers you are looking for, like absolutely ready for you to copy and paste into your proposal and send it out. So what helps is, putting together that input template that I have shared. Some of the questions might nudge you, but if you ask them this, what are the 3 most important activities of this project that need to go into the proposal? They will tell you exactly those 3 which are the highlight of that program. Yes, you will probably need to add more later, but that is what the review and the drafting cycles are for. But ask them this, and once that is in, and once they get to review what you have written, they probably prompts them to add more. So you might not get all the details at the first go. It will come in batches and parts and bits for you. But be prepared for drafting all of that together. You are the person who's holding the whole proposal document together. You are the owner. So you need to keep accepting content pieces as they come and putting it together, unless you are yourself empowered to do it, because you have the knowledge, you have the experience, whatever it is. What also helps is, instead of sending them an input request and saying that, please fill this document for me and send it back, get on the 15-20 minute call with them, saying that, I have some questions, let's quickly resolve them on the call. You can schedule the meeting, you can have your all these AI note takers that are floating around, fireflies or otter, whoever, also jump into the meeting, so that you don't have to type answers or remember anything that is being said, and ask them those questions. And because they will be on a call with you, they will be focused, they will be there, they'll be present, they may not have other distractions taking them away from us answering your questions. And it will help you close on that particular piece of content that you need really, really quickly. So here is what really helps. These are the people you tap into. As I said, PDFs don't help you get where you get. The input template will help you prompt questions. If they fill it for you, great. If they don't, getting on a call and asking them, that really helps. This is what has helped me. So when I was working with Voice Trust, they were working on a project for agriculture, women entrepreneurs or agripreneurs, and I live in Pune. I don't have too much. I don't have too much exposure to one agriculture, to what women in Trichy do. What do they grow? What their land is like? What is their income like? What challenges do they face? So I was constantly on calls with Janet, who is the manager, there is the director, asking her questions about what to put in, because I didn't want to send out a proposal that depended on my knowledge of what they do, without me knowing that. It just, I could research Google and put something and send it out. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to be very, very authentic about what their challenges are, what they were trying to do, what they wanted to achieve, what their objectives were, what the outcome they were targeting was, and put all of that into the document before I sent it out. So it meant a lot of effort from my side to get that content, but once it did, that is the way the proposal won the grant, really. I mean, so I wouldn't negate the effort that you put in to get this. It really is very, very essential. Then we come to this bit where, how to identify funders. This is the part where I was talking about, when I said reviewing your proposal or drafting your proposal. When you draft your proposal, it really has to speak to the funder that you're targeting. Every funder deserves a proposal that is written for them, not lifted out of some template, not lifted out of some generic content that you've put together for the common public, and put into the proposal and sent to them. So when you try and match yourself with the funder, you need to be able to mirror the kind of requests they have put out, the kind of causes they support, the kind of language they have, the kind of organizations they are looking to support. So, which is where this identifying the funder part comes in, because you want your draft to speak to them and not speak to somebody else entirely. So the biggest takeaway I had when I started researching funders for organizations that I work for is to understand why they are doing this, and then present them with the opportunity. You have to put mutuality before the money. You have to have a shared purpose before you propose an investment to anybody. And for that, understanding the why is really, really important. So let's look at these different kinds of organizations that are there. Foundations, typically families have set it up. There's a founder who has a legacy, there's a shared purpose that the entire family has towards a certain cause. Like, let's take Azim Premji's foundation, very, very invested in primary education or educational endeavors, and that's where they invest in. Do you think after he's gone, would they, really start suddenly focusing on something else? They'll probably continue to fund education, because that's been the founder's legacy, that's been his vision for the kind of legacy he or she wants to create. So that's where the foundations come from. For CSR, it might be a lot about publicity, it might be about having good PR for their organization, or it can be strategic investment side also. So for example, in the PR and publicity, you understand, but for strategic investment, what I mean is that, let me give you an example. There was an organization that wanted to set up a factory in a place in Konkan, and 3 years before they actually set up that factory, they went into the place, and not with absolute good intent. And I'm not saying that they wanted to, just do some hanky panky, do projects for the sake of it and then get out, but they went in with absolutely good intent. They understood what the challenges for the people there were. They invested in the land. They, dug up something. They made some water ponds. They made, set up a pipeline. Wherever there was some electricity problem, they helped resolve that. So they invested in little bits and pockets in that village. And so when they came in 3 years later, wanting to set up their factory, wanting to acquire land and employ people, they found that their path there has been smoothened out, because they already knew the people knew them. So it was not as if, some stranger from outside with pots of money is coming in, buying up land, doing whatever he or she wants, and then leaving the villagers, at his mercy. That's not what they did. So strategic investments work that way. And individual. So there's a lot of people who individually are very connected to some past experience, something that's been in the family. Like for example, disability is a big. So somebody who has somebody with a disability in the family usually feels empathy for their cause, and usually has, they either have a foundation, they have a trust which supports people with the similar kind of disabilities or other things. Or I know of somebody whose child passed away in a road accident, and now they have a foundation which sort of helps people understand road safety, traffic sense. They work with the government to make sure that the roads are safer for vehicles, or the commercial vehicle drivers are given some training on how to use their vehicles, or all sorts of road safety things. So there's all of these reasons that people choose to fund, and you have to understand what those reasons are and then present the opportunity. Understanding the why goes a really long way, and the answer that you write as the draft of the proposal really depends on that why. And also remember that not a lot of people, they might not be rich at this point of time, right? They may not have money to give right now, but they might be rich in values, they might be rich in advocacy, they might be rich in volunteerism, they might be able to support you in different ways, or they will fight on your behalf. So not all of this, when you say funder, it's not always going to be about funds and money. It can be support in these different ways as well. So once you understand the why, you will understand where they're coming from. Is it that they're happy to write you a check? Are they lending the weight of their organization or their credibility or their name behind your cause? Are they lending you that? Are they going to volunteer for you? Are they going to make you connects in the industry so that you can get access to more funding? So all of that can be helped, and those can be your funders in different ways. So understand that why, and the answer for you of how you pitch, what you ask for, how much you ask for, where you ask for, always changes. If there are any questions around this, please type in the chat because I will expect a few. Now, the bigger challenge is, I've always heard this. This probably is my third or fourth webinar, or I've had maybe some five in-person sessions. And the the challenge always is, how do we reach a funder? How do we reach them? They don't answer emails. You can't pick up a phone and call them. When we reach out through Connect, they may or may not respond. It really depends on who we are going through. So unless we have like a solid in the door, like a foot in the door, or we have a solid in through somebody or through a reference, like a really strong advocate for our cause or our organization, we really don't get to talk to a funder. We don't get to sit in front of decision makers. But I understand it is not easy, and I absolutely empathize with that challenge. But there are ways to trigger that dialogue. And as I said before, it is not always, not always about securing that funding. It is not, it is also about learning from them or learning about them. So these are ways to trigger that dialogue for you. So if doors are not opening, these are ways to get that. These are typically when you ask, you can't just walk up to strangers and ask for money. You have to establish a common ground before you ask somebody for something. And in that sense, you also have to give of yourself. I'm sort of preempting the order, but what I'm trying to say is that you can only get when you give. So fundraising is always, if you think it is a one-way game where they write the check and you take the check and work with it, that's not how it works. Fundraising is a two-way game, and you have to always give before you ask to be given back, right? So one of my favorites influencers on LinkedIn is Kevin L. Brown. I'm sure a lot of you know about him, and he is the one who said, "Be findable to be fundable." Now let's talk about a scenario where you ask your team, you gather your team in a room and ask them whether they can write your organization's mission and vision on a piece of paper without asking each other, and tell me if you think that they will write the exact same thing, all of them. Type in the chat. Let me look at the chat and see if you're confident that your organization will, or the people in your organization will write exactly what your vision and mission is. Exactly. So now imagine all these people. Let's say you have a team of 10 who understand your mission and vision differently, and they all fan out and talk to different people outside the organization, either in the government, either to the funders, or other stakeholders in the system, and they convey a picture of your organization that nobody else identifies with. They have their image and they are sharing that image. You go out and you share an image, somebody else goes out and somebody shares an image, and whoever has common ground, they say, like, what are they exactly talking about? Because everybody understands what you do, what you're all about differently. It doesn't work that way. To be able to be, you have to be findable to be fundable. And when you say findable, it means that everybody has to be speaking in the same voice. You have to be on the same page. You have to be reading from the same chart of music. No, you can't go out and talk about something else entirely about what your organization does or doesn't do, and then somebody else goes out and does something entirely different. The funders do talk to each other. If you think that funders are also living in silos, just like non-profits are, that doesn't work. The funders also talk to each other, and if they are talking to each other, you are talking to each other, and they sort of understand your cause and what you are about differently, it really doesn't help anybody. So to be able to get that funding, you have to be findable first. And when I say findable, it is not about being out on social media only. It is all about, also about being able to put out a how do I put it, a very clear image of what you represent as an organization. So once you're findable that way, then you will be fundable because you would have established that credibility about what you do and what you are all about. Then the next bit is differentiating yourself, because this is what is going to drive curiosity from the funders. There's always this question about, there's 100 other organizations doing what we do. How do we differentiate ourselves? There's several ways to do that. In fact, think about it. Your program might be better aligned to what you're trying to do with the people you're helping. Your staff probably has more experience than everybody else who's applying for that funding. You probably have a history of robust monitoring and evaluation that you are able to demonstrate with data and facts and figures in your in your presentation, on your website, in your stories. You probably have learned from your failures and applied those failures in your next program or project, and that is what has sort of strengthened your capacity to execute that project. There are different ways you can put it. Go back to your first project, go back to your first few projects maybe, and now look at where you are, and you would have realized the journey you have taken and how you've managed to differentiate yourself. All of these people who say, one organization is doing planting saplings, one organization is doing agroforestry. There are different terminologies probably for the same thing. I don't know, but you have to be able to differentiate using all these facts that are at your disposal, something that you've already achieved, done, experienced, focused on, your team has experience doing it. So find out all those differentiators, and once you are able to zero in on those, and they may be over time, I'm not saying this will happen overnight, it will be over time. Once you're able to do that, put that out, publicize the fact that this is how you are different from somebody else, and that is how you will also be findable. And as I mentioned in the beginning, you have to really have to give before you ask. So when I say give, it is all about researching the funder. Your busiest people have to give the busiest people at the funders their time. If you're asking them to give you time to meet up with you to understand, your busiest people also have to find that time. If you want them to take an interest in your cause, you have to take an interest in what they do. Ask them why, ask them how, ask them what they've done in the past, what prompted them, how much funding. Take an interest in why they are doing what they are doing. Nobody, I mean, not a lot of them, they are probably doing it because it's a government mandate, somebody else asked them to do it, so they're doing the funding for you. But if there is a why, try and take the time to understand why there is. So if you want to make if you want people to make commitments to you, you have to make commitments to them as well about how you're going to execute. So as I was saying in the beginning, fundraising is a two-way street. Giving is a prerequisite to getting. Somebody, who identifies with your cause might give you once. Others might just give to you because, to get rid of you. कि दे दो इसको, I don't want to hear from this person again. But if you want them to continue giving to you have to help them believe that their help is making the world better. Unless they have that belief, they're not going to continue giving to you. So give before you ask. So these are three different ways to sort of trigger that dialogue with the funders. And let's look at the three. I mean, I'm trying to make it sort of, how do I say, put it in a very, I want to set a process to this recon process because it's all over the place. You're looking at their social media, you're looking at their LinkedIn page, you're looking at their website, you're trying to find out whether you fit in or you don't fit in. But there has to be some, coherence to it. So let's find the three C's that I think are very, very useful for you to find out if the funder is a good fit for you, besides the basic research, of course. So coherence is that sometimes you might choose not to work with some funder. When I say coherence, it should be you does their language mirror yours? Are they impact led or are they story driven? Do they love metrics or do they love missions? You have to shortlist them based on the language they put out. Going to what we fund, there's always a link in their website, what we fund, and then we click that and we see what they fund. That is a very lazy way to do a funder recon. Read their annual reports, follow the people in they probably publicize who their staff is, follow that staff or the leadership in that funders organization on LinkedIn and see what they say. Read their blogs that they put out, read or watch videos that they put out on social media. That reveals a lot that is not written in the what we fund section, and that will give you the kind of coherence that you need. Do they support your cause? First of all, do they support the geography that you are located in? Are they looking for long term, short term? Who are their past grantees? What is the fund size they're willing to give you? Or are they a long term funder? Are they a short term funder? Are they invested for a little part of time? Are they going to give you the money and forget about it? Or are they going to be your willing partners in the journey? All of that has to be done. The cross check part of it is, are you eligible? Meaning, what I mean to say here is that, are they also eligible to work with you? Because you might decide at the end of it that instead of sending a proposal here, I'd rather send it to some other folks and make sure that my project gets the kind of focus that it deserves, rather than work with somebody who has 10 projects or they do 50 projects. And I'd rather work with somebody who just does two. Maybe the size of their funding is smaller, but they're more eligible, they're a better fit for my kind of organization. So that is the kind of eligibility check I'm talking about. And don't just read what they fund. It probably doesn't give you the entire picture. See what size they have, what tone they have used, what type, what do their past grantees say about them. That is really important. And as I said, look at the language that they say. If they say, systemic impact, they probably want to see scale. If they say grassroots, don't give them $1 million budget proposal with $1 million. You have to be able to read between the lines sometimes what their language is and find out. Also, there are ways to get in touch with their staff to find out whether there's some unanswered questions that you have. You want to reach out to them and get those answers. All of us believe that the funders are sitting behind like a wall, completely unreachable. But typically, whenever they send out, they might not be reachable otherwise, but when they send out a RFP, when they send out a call for proposals, there usually is somebody or some email, some phone number, something that's given where you can reach them to get your questions answered. If you are not sure if they're a good fit, ask those questions, be curious. At the most, you will spend that hour or two a day to find out that they are not a good fit, but it is good research done, because then you don't need to go back to them again. It's time saved in the future. So this is the three C's that you can sort of do a quick check on for mapping yourself with the funders. Now let's come to the interesting bit. Writing stories and writing for humans, both the same thing. Um, what stories do is they give your funders, it gives your funders reasons to trust you with their money, their time, their commitment, whatever it is that they have to give you. It might not always be money, but it is a reason for the funders to trust you with whatever it is that they're giving. Now read this sentence up on the screen. I have no idea what it means, and I'm sure neither do you. And we've seen it often enough, this kind of sentences in proposals. So let's break this down a little. This is not the kind of sentences that we want to see in proposals anymore. But what does really storytelling mean? When I say that you should tell stories, what do I really mean? Let's get into the crux of it. A story, and you all know this, I'm just merely repeating for the sake of repeating, that a story is 22 times more memorable than data. Data is not dispensable, definitely you need to have data, but with stories, it makes recall far more stronger than anything else. And I'm sure there's examples littered all along your childhood, your adulthood, whenever you're a teenager, a younger person, about the kind of stories you were told, you were a part of, or you experienced, and you remember them more than you remember any data points, like your percentage, what you passed for your 10th exam, anything, any other percentage, which were really, really important at that point of time, but you no longer remember and are no longer relevant for you. In that sense, stories stay with you, data doesn't. So let's look at examples. Um, when you write stories, use concrete examples. That really helps. Let me illustrate that, how that goes for you. Now, imagine this sentence. Nalanda is a poor girl who can't go to school like other kids her age. This is a statement I have made in the proposal. Now imagine you replace my name with anybody else's, and you place this sentence as anybody else's proposal. It will absolutely work. It does nothing to tell the funder who Nalanda is, just that she's a poor girl. Nothing about what struggle she's facing, nothing about her, how she's situated in life, nothing about what you do, nothing about what your intervention is, nothing. It just does like a plain sentence and a statement. That is not storytelling. Instead, what if I say this? Nalanda walks 3 kilometers to school each day and still makes it to the top 10% of her class. She just needs a little support to keep going to school. 1,000 rupees per month for transport will save her from becoming a dropout statistic. Yes, I have expanded the story into three sentences over the first sentence that I said. It was just a single sentence, but now three sentences. But now, can you see how much more sense it makes for somebody to understand why should I help Nalanda, and what help that is, and what those 100 rupees will, those 1,000 rupees will help her from becoming, save her from becoming a dropout statistic. Isn't that like the kicker statement? Let me hear from folks in the chat. If you, what do you think about this? Does that make sense? Does that, is it something that other, okay, case a small part of the whole. Sure. We'll talk about the verbosity part of it. I think Komal has. But yeah, this is a small example. I mean, this is all I can cover in a like an hour session. But I mean, you get the drift. I can, we can always go down, drill down into other stuff. But let me also give you more examples. When I say tell stories better, add a context. Now, this is an actual example that I've lifted from a proposal I recently reviewed about agroforestry. Now, this was being targeted at farmers. It said marginal farmers in India. Now, I don't know sitting here, anybody who is not familiar with agroforestry, agriculture has nothing to do with tilling land, will know what a marginal farmer is. Is a marginal farmer the one who has maybe 1 acre of land, 5 acres, 10 acres, 15, 100? I have no idea. So marginal farmer doesn't qualify anybody. It just talks about some generic farmer who I have no idea about. So instead, if I say it is not easy being a farmer in India, setting the context here, right? It's not easy being a farmer in India. So I'm talking about farmers in India. Sudhabahu knows it better than most. Now it drives my curiosity about who Sudhabahu is. He is a fourth gen farmer with 1 acre of land and an income of just 50,000 rupees. He doesn't see his children taking up farming. And now comes the kicker. In 3 years, we changed his mind. Now you have set the context saying that, this is this person, this much acre of land, this is his income, doesn't see a future in this entirely, left to fend for himself. And the hopelessness that he experiences or the challenges that he faces is all coming through these two, three sentences that come. And then we put in the kicker, in 3 years we change his mind. Now, as a funder, if I'm reading this, I want to know, what did you do to change his mind? I want to understand that. So the function of this paragraph entirely only is to set the context and make sure that the funder goes to the next paragraph and reads further, right? So adding context to stories is what writing for humans means. Chat GPT will never be able to do that. Then draw a personal parallel. Again, let's take the example of marginal farmer. I don't know what a marginal farmer is. I don't know what underserved people are. I really don't know when you say poor women, poor girls. I really don't know what that means because I don't know who that represents in my personal sphere of influence or in my personal context. If I draw a personal parallel for the funder, it really helps them locate the person. So if you say your funds are helping a person just like the guy who washes your car, willing, hardworking, and worth the help. Now, everybody who's probably a funder helping you out, probably, you can assume that they have somebody or they've seen people who wash cars, maybe not their own, maybe somebody else's, but they know exactly who those people are, what kind of person that is, young, probably older. They are up in the morning at 5 o'clock washing all those cars, probably make sure that they do it by 8, maybe wash 20 cars in a day. At 8 they go home, freshen up, and probably go for another job. So they basically work 18 hours a day to make sure that they provide for their family. So when you say a person who washes your car, you are painting a picture of the person your project or program is going to help, and that draws a personal parallel. Now let's take an example of this. We are planting trees in 15 acres. I don't know what a 15 acres look like. I'm not a spatially endowed person. I don't know what it looks, what 15 acres mean. So if I instead say that we are planting trees that will fill up 4 football fields or 4 cricket stadiums, that immediately gives me an idea of what those that tree plantation area will look like, because I am aware, I have at least seen on TV, if not in person, what a cricket stadium is like. I have probably seen football pitches, and that gives me a personal story to draw from, that oh, 4 football pitches or 4 cricket stadiums, which means, oh, it's like it's going to be a massive parcel of land that is going to be planted with trees. So that really helps people, or rather your story become more human, more driven towards making a connection, more driven towards drawing out an emotion. So that's what I mean by storytelling with writing for humans. Now let's do a quick rewrite challenge. Here is a sentence that I want you to rewrite. You can take 5 minutes, and you can probably use 3 or 4 sentences to do it. Be clear, be respectful of who you're talking about, and be relevant about how does it connect with your program or your ask. Let's take those 5 minutes and put that in the chat. I'll read out whatever I feel the best, and then I will also post what I am. I'm also writing this on the side. I'll also post about what I think is a good rewrite of this. Not perfect, but there. You can also say it out loud if you want. I'm happy to listen to that if you don't want to type it out. But take that time, think it through. Three things: clear, respectful, and relevant. Let me also make an attempt. Meanwhile, are we good on time? I think I have not too many decks to go through now.
Yes, we're at the 1 hour mark.
Okay, we should be good. I think I should be able to wrap up in about. Come on, folks, let's see those rewrites. Let me stop and start my video and see if that helps with the.
Can you, if you have blurred your background, can you unblur it? I mean,
Um,
on Zoom, on Zoom.
yeah, on Zoom only, but I'm trying
Oh,
to. Okay. Okay, let me see if I can do this. Okay, is this helping? I don't know. I can't see myself on screen, so I don't know if it is
no,
unblurred or is it
no, we
better.
can't see you now.
Oh, lovely, even better.
Uh, maybe
Okay.
wipe the camera or something.
Now the camera's on. I can. I mean, I can see it's on.
Yeah.
But I was trying to. I went into video settings and unblurred it.
Yes, now we can see you.
Okay.
Oh, we could, now we see the bridge, but we could see you. If we can
Okay.
go back to that.
All right.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
So messy as my study table is, please uh, have
No, no, it's
forgiven the
perfect.
pleasure of my.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. We can see you well now.
All right. Good. Good. Okay. So do we have rewrites coming in? Okay. Many farmers in India are not aware of many improvements in farming, so they're unable to survive. Okay. We are enabling farmers to generate income by co-creating solutions with them. Okay. Still slightly respectable in that sense. Qualify the farmer. I don't know who the farmer is. They may be a rich farmer for all I know. You're just helping them get richer. Okay. We train farmers on the integrated. Okay, this is very specific. Save on their fertilizer expenses. All right. We help small farmers with their needs, identify nearby source availability and compromise. Explain. Okay. I think Ravi's is still closer. It is very, very specific about the kind of help that you give. The first one as well, Aswa Srinivas. Many farmers are not aware of the improvements, they're unable to survive, and you help with sustainable interventions, sure. So Davao doesn't have the means to buy expensive, damages fields. Program has trained 50 farmers like me. Yes, increases yield. Okay, this is very, very, very specific. Yeah. So you tell the before and the after as well. Now we want to expand the program so that 200 farmers can follow. Yes. So which means that you're expanding, which means there's hope. There's you've already proven one part of it is successful, and you're recruiting more people. We provide holistic education in the schools of India. No, sir. We already said holistic is a trigger word for us. We just played bingo with that word. Let's join our hands to empower marginalized farmers through our innovative solutions. Okay, all right. Our farmers, our project strengthens the capacity. Oh, that keeps moving. Capacity of farmers on crop selection. Okay, again specific. Sugandha. Usage which leads to better decision making outcomes. Yes, ultimately improving their income. Yes. We create PPGs. I'm sure it means something, but PPGs for marginalized farmers to make their occupation in self-sustaining with market support. Okay. We support children of migrant labor by creating access to education literacy so that they can continue learning with dignity despite frequent displacement. Yes, again, this is good. We work towards sustainable development. Sustainable development. Realize that farmers are aware, but they require economic portability and productivity. All right. Program will help small marginal understand how climate change. Our project has not only helped Sadhava install the rainwater harvesting, but also send the yes. This is also specific. You've also sort of projected the relative outcome. So it just doesn't increase in income. It also sends a 6-year-old daughter to school. It keeps her in school probably. In fact, I can think of another good example in the project that I had once written for. We instead of all these tangible measures about how many trees planted, how many acres of land under all of that cultivation, very very tangible fact-driven outcomes. We also listed, decreased visits to the doctor, which means obviously it implies that you have better nutrition, you are better able to take care of yourself, therefore uh, your doctor visits go down, which means that the outcome is also monetary, but it is also this, it is also for well-being. We train adolescent girls on health, safety, and their rights to address the economic, socio-economic gender inequalities that exist in the society through activity-based camps. Okay, very specific. This results in girls being able to negotiate, yes, with their families to stay back in school and delay the age of marriage. Perfect. This is lovely. Small farmers will improve their living conditions by getting tech support, agricultural practice. Also, very, very specific. I can see that a lot of you are very clear about what you're really trying to say. Just forget the jargon words here, but you know who you are working for, you know what kind of intervention you want to put in. But if you, and nobody is definitely writing sentences like the one on screen, so I'm happy about that. So but it also has to be in a way relevant, it has to also be respectful. So let's look at this. Komal, Rajan has always been eager to learn new things but limited access to education. Yes, 3 years later, through our learning intervention on WhatsApp, a tool he uses even more than chatting with his own family. Yes, this is really good. You're sort of identifying who Rajan is, and kids like Rajan who you are helping, that really gives the funder a good context. Today, Rajan uses WhatsApp learning tool to access tips and tricks for farming, helping him harvest better, etc. Because the tool is always at his disposal. Yes, perfect. So that was adopted economic tradition integrated pest disease that reduce expenses by 50%. Yes, also very specific. Enhance biodiversity in rural livelihood in Hingoli district through conservation and plantation of wild fruit trees. Again, specific, but it needs a more context because I may not be aware about what happens in Hingoli district, what the challenges of those people there are. If you give me a little more context, it helps. Um, no need with support from family, farmers on effective technique, farming along with value addition. Long sentence, sorry to, but it doesn't bring out to me what is it that you're really doing. But I think great attempts in the chat overall. Do you want me to put out what I wrote? May not be perfect, but let's see what does it sort of help. Let me go back to my screen. Yes. Okay. So here is what I wrote while all of you were writing, discussing. We are helping farmers with holdings less than 5 acres. So that qualifies who those farmers are. I probably missed writing out where they are from. So it's just generic. Improve their yields through sustainable agroforestry. So again, not just through anything, giving them pesticides, giving them this, to sustainable agroforestry. That is one solution that I'm proposing. Like all of you wrote about very specific interventions that you're doing, this is also a specific intervention. This method supplements their hard work and protects their land. Now this is where that respect part comes in. They are really not sitting twiddling their thumbs waiting for help to fall from the sky, and they were always helping themselves before you even came into the picture. So our method is just there to supplement what hard work they are already doing on their lands, and to help them protect it or continue the way they were doing it, or rather continue the way that helps them their yield increase, or helps them be at it for a sustained period of time, rather than be forced to either sell their land, or what I've said in the next sentence. Because this method supplements their hard work and protects their land, but most importantly, we are making them less vulnerable to climate change, rising costs, and suicide in a short span of time. So that is what you are really. So your end goal is not just to increase their income, to save their livelihood, to make sure their kids are in school. It is also to make them less vulnerable to climate change, rising costs, and very, very, like a very local example, if I have to give it, then suicide, farmer suicide in Maharashtra is a big issue. So for them to understand that suicide is not really one of their choices, it is not on the table, they can safely discard it and go about their lives with the kind of intervention we are trying to do, or with the kind of help we are trying to give them. So that is the kind of wording I'm talking about. I don't know if it makes sense. Does this just type a thumbs up in the chat if you think whatever I've written makes sense? Does it capture clear? Does it capture respectful? Does it also say relevant for you? Is there something that you could probably add to this that will make it better? Add to the rewrite that I have done? Yeah, Ravi, I read your stuff. That is really good. Very, very specific. Yep. Okay, time check. 15 minutes left. Damn. Let me like quickly go through this. Okay. All right. So let's go to the next bit. Okay, this is what I've heard funders talk, and this is real. Uh, they said a lot, but I still don't know what they do. Comes back to our being findable and fundable. If you remember that slide, the budget and the narrative don't match. One of the bit is either too ambitious, or one of them lacks the punch that you want to give. The budget is too much, the narrative doesn't match it. Narrative describes a fantasy world, but the budget doesn't match it. So here are the things, this is what they keep saying, but what they really are looking for is the confidence that you can pull it off, because they're giving their time, money, resources for you to be able to pull it off. They have the resources, you have the expertise, and if they're going to be able to give it, they need to have the confidence that you will be able to pull it off. They need you to have clarity before you give them the clarity, right? Clarity over cleverness. You might be really clever, but if you can't describe your project to them, in the shortest possible way, or in a way that they get it. Because remember this, funders are people like me and you and everybody who's not from the probably not from the sector, has a diversity of experiences, comes from different walks of life, different age groups, and they probably have never heard of what you do, the solution, your implementation, your execution. If they have not heard of any of it, and you want them to part with their money, then you should be able to convince them and speak it in their language. So whenever you write proposals, please make sure that it speaks to diverse audience, because today, tomorrow I might be sitting at the funders committee, somebody else among you might be sitting there, somebody who's more elderly than I am might be doing it, somebody who's far younger than I am might be looking at it. So you really don't know who's looking at it, so make sure it maps to diverse audiences. Use their name, use their language, call them out, use their logos as much as possible. Make sure that it is catering to their requirements in that sense. So sometimes people say that, should I give data, should I not give data? Honestly, too much data really isn't the problem. too much unexplained data is where the problem is. Show them data that matters, and that should be sufficient. You really don't have to go overboard or undersell anything that you do, but you have to be able to explain it well or make it a part of the story. Like we said, farmers, how we help them, what we started with 50,000 rupees was the income, we changed his mind, blah blah blah, that is what his income is 3 years later. That is what you should be able to say. They are not really allergic to boldness in your solution, not allergic to data, not to even to detail, but they are allergic. Funders are allergic to boredom in your content, to saying the same thing again and again, to fluff, not your budget and narrative not mapping, or to any disconnects that you have throughout the funder. Which is why somebody who's holding the proposal, the final person, has to be able to write it really well and sort of tie it together. Okay, the grand calendar that you will actually use. So this will come to you as a template, but let me quickly go through this. Work backwards from the deadline. Easy, you know your deadline, you can work backwards from it. Add that buffer from the actual deadline. So remember, whenever you put a grant writing calendar to submission together, there is one deadline that the funder has, but there are 10 interim deadlines which are not very, very feasible. Nobody's published them, nobody's written about them, but you have to be able to determine them. That's when you make a plan and publish that. Share that with your team because they need to know when something is expected from them. Assign tasks to them. 6 weeks backward is usually a good idea. Share the plan with them on day one so that they know when to expect what and when they are supposed to act, and add that 48-hour buffer. That really helps, but don't say that you've added that buffer. Keep it for yourself. All right. Okay. The minefield navigator. This is like the last bit of it. Really, something that I'm sure you're already doing, but just seeing this so that even if you've missed any one of it, or there's some things that you probably did not strike you, this might really help. So use file naming conventions, something like the grant name, whoever, whatever that version number is, name of the project that you're typing, something that will explain in that one file name what the document is about. Use version control if you have it. Google Docs works best until the last mile before you have to take it offline and then work on it. Or if you have Dropbox or any other version control systems that you work with, great. But I usually use Google Docs. Assign one person as the final file holder, somebody who's actually going to submit, who's going to make sure that the final proposal document is complete in all respects. Everything has been received from everybody, it's populated well, all media are in, all content is in, data, charts, everything. And save an offline version. Typically now these days funders are requesting, they don't request anything over an email. They usually ask for a form to be submitted online with word limits and such. So make sure all of that is first offline, it is all final and done, and then copy paste that, because crashing portals are like the bane of our existence. We've seen it too often enough for our proposals to just go somewhere in la la land and nobody's aware where they are, and nobody's got them, and you think you've submitted, the funder's not got them yet, so it's difficult. All right, last quiz. Now I want you to do a thumbs up, thumbs down, or a smiley like this. I will put out some statements and I want you to tell me if they are real or ridiculous. Let's start with the first one. Thumbs up, thumbs down for this one. Our mission is to empower undersourced communities through a prism of transformation. And this has been taken from real proposals. I have not, trust me, not made them up at all. Big thumbs down. Yes, absolutely. Thumbs down. Okay. A lot of you seem to concur about the thumbs down. Somebody's having a good laugh. Okay. That is acceptable as well. Okay, let me load the second one. Okay. Let's look at this one. Over the past year, 74% of our students enrolled in our program improved math scores by one full grade level. Thumbs up, down, smirk, thumbs up. Super. Yes, this at least is more coherent. It talks the time period, it talks about students, it talks about who they're enrolled, what they did, math scores, very specific, improved one grade. Vanita doesn't agree. She thinks, not so great, maybe could be better. Okay. All right. Okay. With that, let me load the third one. I'm hoping to, I don't know, draw some laughs with this. Yes, thank you, Ekta. Yeah. And this is what this is not from a proposal, but I was in a room where I heard this. I like I am passionate about traveling. Will you fund my travel, please? So I am passionate about a lot of things. That's not what you say to funders. Definitely not. All right. So that concludes our quick round of quiz. Thank you so much for participating here. And now here are the takeaways. We'll cover them. I've already talking about these, the proposal input template. Again, you don't have to completely fill it, but it will help you nudge you with questions that you need to ask. The grand calendar, it is an Excel based calendar. You can just edit one date, the deadline, and everything will fall in place for you. You can edit the days as well if you need. The funder recon checklist I spoke about, something that you will keep handy. You can put it in an Excel sheet if you want, but I put it in Word for now. And the bonus I spoke about is the 6 C's of chaos to clarity guide, just a checklist for you to run through before you make that proposal submission. So, parting thoughts. Here is something that I borrowed from somebody called Michelle Benson, who I follow on LinkedIn. Again, big influencer in the fundraising space. I've used it with her permission, and these two graphics resonated with me very, very deeply. Funders don't give because they understand you, they give because they feel understood. Goes back to our first thing, how you trigger those conversations. You have to give before you get. You have to be findable to be fundable. And the day you plant the seed is not the day you eat. The day you meet the donor is not the day you ask for money. It is a long game, folks. Reaching out to funders, getting their trust, getting them to write that check. Between that and your first meeting, it might be a year or more, very very realistically. So be in it for the long haul. Be in it for the bigger game that we have to play. But it is a very very fruitful, productive one. I can tell you from experience. All right. That's it. And finally, a little bit about me. This is what I do. My course, as I spoke about earlier, I help nonprofits with proposal writing, funder research, and I do a lot of other writing as well. I write newsletters, other letters of intent, concept notes, whatever they need written, social media. I do all of that and specific to non-profit organizations. And this is the website that you can sign up for my email letter for. It's called buildwealthwithwords.org. It gets delivered on Wednesdays. So I wanted, to leave you with this, and I write those proposals, and I very much wanted to do that. As I said, my mission is to be redundant. If you or your teams need any mentoring help, training on any of these or anything that I can share and help them with, I'm happy to do that. All of you are my target audience in that sense. So there it is. My email is here, grantwriter.me@gmail. And I'm happy if you connect with me on LinkedIn. So that's about me. Now, questions. Happy to take them. And I have one for you as well. What is the one thing that you will do differently in your next grant proposal? If you can type that in the chat while you type your questions. Can I stop sharing my screen? Because the next screen is just this. It's a thank you. So I'll just want to stop. Okay, where is it? Okay, stop share. All right. Okay, there we are. You got it, Sheba. No vague sentences. Use anecdotes and examples. Perfect. Yes, spend time understanding the funder. Very, very crucial. That is really half the battle. I mean, putting your grant proposal really will not be so much of an effort if you know what the funder is looking for and you tailor your proposal accordingly. Share data which is backed by evidence. Yes, I've been doing that, but better clarity and understanding. Prepare for diverse audiences. That is it. If you tomorrow you send me data and I cannot make sense of it, you've lost me as a funder. Give me data that I can understand and which ties in everything. What the challenge is, what your solution is, why this data, why is it relevant to the solution. All right. And honestly, I'm not trying to make this everything about the funder. The organizations that do the work actually are equally important. So when you say you have to choose the funder, you're also funder chooses you. You also have to be able to choose the funder. So you're also as equally a equal partner in the game than ever. Thank you.
Um,
Should a
uh,
CSR proposal? Yes. Somebody
yeah.
had a question.
No, Nalanda, please continue with this. Like after this question, maybe I can share the other question that had come on the chat.
Okay. Should a CSR proposal include log frame analysis or theory of change? I'm not too sure what a log frame analysis is, sorry, but theory of change, yes. Theory of change means different things to different people, very honestly. It's a Western import, if I can say that. And if we, I don't know how to adapt it to our conditions rather than, I'd rather tell stories than put out a theory of change. And theory of change is better expressed as a graphic than in a textual format, according to me. But I'm happy to explore that as a topic. I could probably learn more about it and have another session. I'm not a fan of theory of change as long as you know what you're doing and you're able to state it in the proposal theories of change and how much purpose it serves. So if your funder demands it, maybe you want to do it, but I usually don't put a theory of change in the proposals that I write. Learn and research. Okay. How can we identify the local needs when we talk to the people? That's how you do. How can we identify the local needs? Which means you have to talk to the people who you are helping. Let them be the voice and determine the kind of solution you are proposing, because you might propose a solution without having a word with them, and you realize that when you go and implement, they're absolutely against it. They're not willing to follow, they're not willing to toe the line, and they don't want to do what you're proposing. So you'd rather talk to the people and co-create that solution before you go to the funder. I don't know if I got the question right, but that's what you're asking, right? The local needs, identifying how the locals talk to the people. I mean, that's the best thing. They will tell you exactly what their challenges are. How can we identify when? Oh, you asked this again. I think it's again come up again. Okay. Thank you, Ravi. I'm glad it helped you in some way. And I'm really grateful for everybody who's turned up here today. I mean, Friday afternoon, everybody wants to really take off for the weekend, and you chose to spend it with me. Very, very grateful for it. Okay, okay. There's one question that I can see before it moves up. I think how to understand about pandas objectives. Please give some ideas. Talk to them. Again, why are we assuming that websites are the only way? As I said, the funder research doesn't only involve looking at their website. Talk to their folks if you get a chance. Send that email. Maybe it will disappear. It will go into a black hole. You will never hear back. uh, Read about their blogs, read their videos, see where they are present at conferences, get a chance to get into that network. There are several ways to get that, and those funders are not never going to state their objectives upfront, ready for you to pick and just create a proposal just mapping to those objectives. It's never going to happen that way. You have to be able to read between the lines, and it is a long game. It is not something that you'll be able to achieve in 3 months, 2 months. It really is a long game. You have to be at it for some time. And one interesting thing that I forgot to share in my earlier, when I looked at all the responses that came in, about 200 people filled that little survey that we had at registration, and the kind of requests for the topic coverers that we asked, that which is what is the top three things that you want us to cover. So with the number of proposals, so we said zero proposals, 1 to 3 proposals, 4 to 6 proposals, and as the number of proposals written went up, the number of requests for information has come down. So I really did put that data point together and looked at the graph. And so this is a very, very learnable skill, is what I'm trying to tell you. If I could succeed at it, I'm sure all of you with your collective experience can very well succeed at it. It is a learnable skill. The more grants you write, the more proposals you put together, you're going to be able to figure it out better. That is how I learned. My journey is of a practitioner. I haven't had any formal education in this. So I learned, I failed, I learned, I failed, I failed, and there was one win. Then I learned from that, went on again several failures, one win. So it is all that. So it is a very, very learnable skill. You can get better at it as you write more and more proposals, and that is very evident from that 200 236 odd people who have written. So anybody who's written upwards of 7 proposals really doesn't need too much input from me. They just like maybe time management, maybe a little about writing compelling stories, and that's about it. Nothing transactional. They just want something very very specific. How can I best explain market size? I'm not too sure what market size means in this context. You can elaborate on that. While you answer that, let me take this. How long should a proposal be, ideally, along with all annexures for organization format? This is a very dangerous question to ask me because my proposals are not longer than 6 pages, if I can help it. Definitely not longer than 10 pages if I have to push it a little. Annexures can go in. Annexures really make up the bulk of whatever you want to refer to later. That can be a little higher than that. But proposals definitely not longer than 6 to 10 pages maximum. Because imagine thousands of or hundreds of proposals coming to a landing onto a funder's desk, and they have to read through 20 pages of something that you've put together. You'd rather spare them the effort, make their life happy, give them that 6 pager, and if they have questions, there's chances for you to elaborate later. As it is, they're going to put word limits on the proposal. So use that to your advantage. Do we have that thing about the market size? I didn't get the context of market size here. Some CSRs don't release RFPs, and if we are doing code, at which stage of email writing should we share our proposal? Again, ask them if they are not ready to receive your proposals. It is just going to again disappear in the black hole. Usually organizations don't encourage you to directly, without any prior establishing a, like a chain of relationship building with them even over email, not just in person, unless that you've set a stage for yourself in that organization or with that person in the funder's office. Don't just send a proposal saying that hey, we are looking for funding for this project, would you care to look at this? Well, don't. At what point, when you're comfortable talking to them, you remember that little graphic we had. The day you plant the seed is not the day you eat the fruit. The day you meet the funder is not the day you. So your first email to the funder is going to be with a proposal attached to it. Not going to cut it. They're going to either block you or ignore whatever comes from you next. Because what context do they have about what you're trying to do? Yes, somebody had something to say, I think. Yeah.
Nalanda, we have a hand raised from
Yes.
Deepali.
Yeah, I think
Deepali,
Deepali would answer that question about the market size. Yes, Deepali.
Yes, thanks a ton, ma'am. So basically, what I struggle with is when I have to. So I'm not an NGO. We are not an NGO, but we work with solid waste management. So we
Okay.
have to work with a lot with CSR grants and funds. We write a lot for that.
Okay.
So basically, in that context, I struggle with writing down what is the real market size is. Like, do I talk about just the waste, or do I talk about the typical dollar figure that we generally get for CAGR, and then from the top down I have to, because that doesn't show the realistic view of what we can do. So
Okay.
I at this
Let me
time
ask you this. Who is
yes,
your waste management activity helping?
recyclers.
Recyclers. So they are your market. If it is helping them, they are your market. And if they are the ones you are, so as a part of your work, are you in touch with the recyclers? I mean, do you offload your stuff to them? Do you talk to them on a constant basis? Do you know where
Yeah,
they're
so we
located?
are the technology people. We want to license it to them.
Okay.
So, but then right now what we are saying is that this much of waste can be processed by the recyclers, which is currently not getting processed,
Yeah.
and the value that we can bring out is more. So I generally stick to that proposition instead of figuring out कि इतना market dollar का market है globally, and then I have to assume 40% is from India, and then again I assume that out of this much is Mumbai area, and then this much is what I can really cater to,
I
because
don't know why your funders are looking at the global market. If they're willing to fund proposals here or projects here, they should look at what is happening here. I mean, sure, global scale you need to be aware of, yes, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
need a
CAGR
market.
is generally available for the global this thing. CAGR Indian, it's very decentralized system, so there is no right figure there. So in that context,
Yeah.
if I have this market size challenges, what would be the best way, or should I
Yeah.
just focus on what I can cater to?
Probably that, but I'll need to dig in deep. I need to have ask several
I
questions
connect
before
my
I
point with
understand.
you.
I mean,
I
I
just
can.
need to
I
know the
really
right.
don't have an answer for you right now.
No
Probably
problem.
we'll
I
dig
would
in deep.
like to connect with you
Yeah, yeah,
one on
absolutely.
one.
Happy to chat about this. I
Thanks,
think.
Atma.
Yep, sure. Couldn't help much, but yeah. Um, how different is the proposal written for funds versus call for proposals published by organizations? Call for proposals usually have they publish a format and say that this is the format you need to submit your proposals in. And when somebody says, just send me a proposal, they probably are not specifying a format, and then you write it for them. And also, it really depends. When there's a call, it is for a specific cause, specific location. Everything is really, really put out in black and white. When you just write a proposal offhand, not really formally asked for, you probably go with whatever is best for you, as in whatever is the most current project, whatever is the most current need, and then write a proposal accordingly. If my need is identified, however, I'm unable to zero in on the ideal funder, is there any benefit or direction that cold calling can provide? Yes, it can. It can tell you who not to call again in the first place, and then probably it can help you learn the kind of the conversation that you need to have. Maybe you will have 10 rejections, or 10 people will hang up on you when you start conversing about something, and then you need to know, then you need to sort of recognize that you need to change what you're saying. You need to make a different start to the conversation. There are different things that you need to probably put out before they don't, for that chance for you to get to them, that they not slam the phone down on you. So it's a learning process. Probably after 50 calls, you'll be able to find who it is, what it is that you need to say. Ideal funder, do they really exist? I don't know. Ideal funder for you, you never know really what conversation leads to what, and who comes along to fund you. So, I would keep all my sort of cards open in that sense. Yes, any questions that I missed in all this thing moving up and down? I am not sure, but if Vedashri, if you can help me, I will
Sure,
answer.
sure. We actually had an interesting question come in during the session, a
Okay,
lot earlier than right now. This was from Komal, and
okay.
the question was that sometimes the challenge is to be strength based in stories, like a thin line between pity and actually projecting them as
Yeah.
empathy. How can we attempt that? How do the donors perceive it? That was the question.
Always portray a positive forward looking picture. That is the mantra that I have stuck with, and it has worked really well for me, because for years I think we have done that whole pity drama and poverty porn thing, and we have beaten it to death in all our proposals. I don't think that works any longer. And as I said earlier, the people that you are helping are not really sitting there waiting for help to come along and for it to improve their lives. They're already helping themselves. There is dignity in how they are conducting their lives. You have just discovered them, and now you've said that there is a solution that I can provide that will help you enhance what you're already doing. So you're merely a support system to them in that sense. So they are already helping themselves. And let me take you back to that proposal that I mentioned very earlier, the big first win that I had of the 22 lakh ones. That's what we demonstrated in our proposals. Those women, they were losing their crop because COVID was on. There was no transport. Their tomatoes their tomato harvest was entirely rotting away. And what we told them was, upcycle that tomato produce, make papads, pickles, preserves, whatever you think. You have plenty of local and traditional knowledge. Use that and up value that crop so that it doesn't go to waste. And we made a group of 5 women do that first. That was our pilot project, and we described that in detail in our proposal, saying that we've already helped ourselves here. We're not really waiting on your funding. We just want to help more women. That's why we need the funding. We've already helped ourselves. We've proven this model works. And that is how that, this whole, you have to sort of change the narrative to say that these people are, they're already helping themselves, we just need, to give them more support. Like that, like that poor girl who runs, who walks to school 3 kilometers away. She's doing that walking every day. She's still at the top 10% of her class. This, in spite, I mean, without your help, she's doing all that anyway. Now that your help comes, she will still be in school. We will not make her a statistic. She can remain in school because that transport helps her. It saves time, etc., etc. So this whole thing about, getting that pity or tugging at somebody's heartstrings is absolutely passe. Speak from the voice of the community. That is what I would advise. If you are able to meet the people who you are helping, be their voice. Speak like they would about their challenges, how they are trying to address them, and what your help is going to sort of enhance or help them do to make their life better or conduct their activities better, or whatever it is that you are trying to do. So that I think is the approach to take. There really is no thin line. There's a big line. Like poverty porn on one side, empowering, forward-looking, positive stories on one side entirely. Does that answer your question, or have I made it more difficult for you?
No, no, it did. Thank you so much.
Okay.
But is sometimes the only, like, is it okay to use words like difficulties and challenges?
Oh yes, of
Because,
course,
yeah,
of course.
ultimately they are issues, right? So it
Yes,
becomes a
yes.
little,
No,
that's
no, no.
okay.
So when I did that bingo, I didn't mean to, make villains out of those words. All these words are relevant, but used in context.
Yeah, yeah,
They
yeah,
can't
that
be
makes sense.
thrown about
Yeah,
carelessly. That's
yeah,
all I'm trying to say.
yeah. Thank you so much. Really
Sure.
helped.
All right. But yeah, absolutely. Challenges, difficulties, problems, issues, anything that describes the one thing in their life that you can help change. Please describe it like you want to.
Thank you so much. I think we can hang back for a couple of minutes for
All
any
right.
questions, if there are. But perhaps we can close the session, close the webinar here.
Yep.
Um,
And if there is is there a feedback survey that we send them?
yes.
Please, please give me feedback, because I want to be able to help more folks in this sector like I did you today. And I hope I did help you in some way or the other. Maybe one thing, I'm happy about that. So please fill that survey. I do need to know what I should do better, whether there's something that I could have changed, made a difference in any way to your work. I'm absolutely happy to hear from you.
Thank you. Thank you for thank you for mentioning it again. We've shared the feedback form in the chat box, and we'll also share it in the post-session email that will go out to all of you in your
Okay.
registered email. So please do fill out the feedback form, and you'll also receive all the templates, all the resources, all the takeaways that were mentioned in today's session, along with the session recording. And the recording will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel. So feel free to visit that and check it out
Where
there.
I will forever be blurred, but anyway, the last bit I will still be
No,
okay.
but towards the end, it did clear up.
Yeah,
So it.
yeah. Cool, cool. No, just kidding. It's okay. As long as my voice was heard, I'm fine. Cool.
But thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you so much, Nalanda. And thank you so
Thank
much.
you so much, everybody. And I'd love to meet up with you in person. Anybody who wants to connect on LinkedIn, happy to chat with you there, on email as well. If you subscribe to my newsletter, even better. Right? It's up to you, your choice. So, yep. Thank you so much. Good to hang up, or should I hang
Yeah,
back for a
sure.
bit?
We can hang back for a minute.
Yep.
If anybody has any question, while we are still here, while
Yes.
we still have Nalanda with us, if any last minute questions, please feel free to unmute and ask it.
I
But
just
thank
want to know
you.
Yes.
if a leader change in an organization, at that time, what the funder thinks about it. Because if I want to say that a funder is giving funding for about 2 or 3 years, and after that the existing leader has changed, after new leader has come in the organization, at that time what thinking comes in the mind of the organization, and what step they will have to take, or what step they will take.
I am not too sure. So with new leadership, usually there is a new influx of ideas. They have different priorities. So if you've been with a funder, if your organization and a funder have been working together for several years, I think it really comes down to the kind of interaction you've had over those years. How solid of a connect do you have with internal people? Because it is often, sure, the lot of decisions come top down, but it is often the people at the officer or the program level in the funders organization who are the real drivers of, who can be your evangelists or your advocates in that organization. So if you have a really good connect with them, then I don't think a lot should change for you, unless, of course, the organization entirely or the funder entirely changes their focus from one cause to an entirely different cause. Like today, they were doing, girl child education. Tomorrow, they started helping farmers with whatever they needed. So that's a quite a change of focus and quite drastic. I don't know if organizations do that. Probably CSR, but they also have the funding is short term anyway. So bigger organizations don't really shift their focus that frequently, even with change in leadership, because it's all legacy based. But with CSR, that might change. But with CSR, you're also aware that your commitment is also for a limited term. So it really boils down to the connect that you have, and they may be able to, those people who you have a connect with, may be able to apprise you of any future changes that will come in because of change in leadership at the top, because they might be aware of what is going on, what the organization is focusing on, what kinds of funds they are lining up for release, all of that. So you need to have like a good connect with the people there. That's all I can say. I mean, what else? Does that help, Ashok?
Yes, Didi, yes.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Oh, please share YouTube link. For what?
I'll share that. That's the YouTube channel. That's the
Okay.
YouTube channel where the session recording will be uploaded.
Oh, okay. Good.
Right. Thank you so much, everybody. I think we can close.
All right. Cool, cool. Happy time for me. Okay.
Superb. Thank you, everybody, for
All
staying.
right. Thank you. Thanks, Vedashri. Thanks, Vaishali, for your support on this. Could have been
Thank,
here without you. Super. Well,
thank you so much. Wonderful session.
thank
Have
you.
a great weekend ahead, everybody.
Yeah. All right. Bye bye.
Bye. See you in the next one.